YouTube and welcome to the channel. Now then, on today's video we're going to be looking at this. As far as I can tell, it's from a brand new manufacturer called Suchiyu. I hope I haven't butchered that. This has very kindly been supplied by Banggood for review, so big thumbs up to them. It's a 1/16 scale. Basically builds a cross-country vehicle. Now I'm not 100% sure whether it's supposed to be a crawler or whether it's supposed to be a basher or what. I suppose we'll find out in a minute. But it's by, like I say, it's by a company called Suchiyu, and refreshingly it's called a Gantry, so they've actually given it a name. I mean, it is technically known as an SCY16103. Catchy name, I know, but it's actually called a Gantry, so there you go. They've actually given it a name. So anyway, let's have a quick look at the box. Now it's 1/16 scale, it's brushed. Let's see if we can see any interesting bits and pieces on the side. Ready to run, 4x4. It's got some shock absorbers. Apparently it's got a rudder machine, which I presume they mean servo, and it's fully functional. It's got some lights on it too. Anyway, like I say, 1/16 scale. I'm not sure if it's a basher or a buggy or a crawler or what. But let's crack the box open and find out. Now, before we do, I forgot to mention a price. It's on Banggood at the moment for $85 or 66 quid. There will be a link in the description where you can go and get it, and hopefully I'm in the process of trying to get a promo code for it, so if you did want it, you could use the code and the link and go to Banggood and get some money off this baby. Right then, in the box we've got our instructions. We've also got a battery charger, USB battery charger, some stickers for the bodywork. We've got a little screwdriver, some spare R-clips, and some spacers for the suspension, I'm presuming. Now we've also got our transmitter here. Now I've just noticed on it, it's got this really cool little thumb control here for the steering, so you can have one-handed control if you like. We've got a very strange switch on the side. Blimey, this is stiff. No idea what that switch does. We've got a channel 3 button that might control the lights, and on the transmitter we've got steering trim and throttle dual rate. We've also got a slider to reverse the steering, and of course our on-off button. Now, first impressions of this controller is it does feel a little bit plasticky and cheap, but we'll reserve judgment, see what it's like. I do like that little thumb piece there on the steering wheel. That's pretty cool. Now then, the buggy itself, or the truggy itself, or whatever it is. Now it does look, I must admit, like a proper mean son of a bitch, this does. They've really done a decent job of the body shell. I mean, it's only like it's not like a hard body, it's literally just like a shell. But I must admit, I do like the look of this thing. It does look quite smart. Now, they also do a white version which looks really cool, with white wheels. But these wheels are sort of a metallic. I don't know if you can tell on the camera there. They're like a metallic. Tyres seem quite soft and pliable, but I do like the look of these sort of steel style wheels. But like first impressions of the body, it does look quite mean, this thing does. Anyway, let's get the lid off and let's have a look inside. Let's see what makes this thing tick. Right then, underneath the bodywork there lives our little lithium-ion battery, 1300 milliamp hour capacity, 7.4 volt. It's got a little Dean's connector on it there. Now the battery tray in this is reasonable, so there's no reason at some point if we wanted to, we couldn't put a LiPo in there. That's a nice little feature, that little battery strap there that stops the battery from moving around. We've got a little 5-wire micro steering servo. We've got what looks like a 390 brushed motor with a nice little red radiator on it, and we've got a dual ESC and receiver that sits there to control the car with. Now what I might do, one thing of interest, we've got a chassis brace here, which is actually like painted red metal, so that's a nice little touch. As far as I can see though, all the drivetrain and the drive shafts and everything else are plastic, unfortunately, which is a bit of a letdown really, because normally you do get a set of metal dog bones at the rear, but not on this. Everything's all plastic. But anyway, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just check the lights out before we unplug them, and then we'll have a look around this, see what the transmission's like. I've just connected the battery up and turned it on. The on and off button is actually on the ESC receiver on the truck. I've bunged some batteries in the transmitter. It takes 3 AA batteries. Now then, this third channel here does control the light, so we can have it on just the 4 lights on the front of the car. If I press it again, I don't know if you can tell there, we've got some orange lights come on and then this light bar on top. I mean, they're quite bright actually. If we press the channel 3 button again, they flash, and if we press it again, they flash really quick. Now, I'm not sure of the purpose of the flashing lights, but hey ho. But anyway, there's the lights. Right then, I've removed the wheels and they are a 12mm hex. Interesting enough though, they have these little metal wheel hexes that are used to hold them on, but they have these awful wheel screws here. Now, if you've ever had any experience with these things, they do tend to break off, and the screw end, so the threaded portion breaks off inside the drive shaft, and then you screwed, then you can't get the flipping, no pun intended, you can't get the broken off screw out of the drive shaft, so you have to buy some more. Now at the moment I can't find any parts available for these things on Banggood, but they're probably available somewhere else. So if you did snap one off inside, it'd mean trying to source another set of drive shafts. Also, if you're at all familiar with Xinlehong and to some respect HBX 16889, the brushed version, you'll recognise this sort of drive shaft end pattern here. I think it's very, very similar to the sort of style of drive shafts that the brushed HBXs and Xinlehongs use, which is no surprise really, as it's a very similar little machine. But what we'll do, we'll carry on. I'm going to take some of these bits and pieces off. We're going to have a look at the suspension and we're going to have a look at the transmission, see what we get in there. Right, we're getting to the guts of the thing. Suspension units, these are very cheap and nasty looking units, even by 1/16 cheap buggy standards. Not very nice at all. They're a little bit shorter than Xinlehong ones. Unfortunately, I don't have any HBX or FTX ones to compare them against, because I was hoping that perhaps you could put a set of oil dampers on them from a HBX 16889, but I'm not 100% sure. Drive shafts, now these are very similar to the HBX 16889. Unfortunately, they're longer, so they're non-interchangeable. They're all ball race though, they do sit in ball races, but if you're at all familiar with the HBX, you'll recognise the end of them. They're all plastic, so how long they'll last, I don't know. They have got a little metal cross piece in the middle there, but like I say, how long these will last, I don't know. And trouble is whether or not you'll get replacements for them. That'll be the issue. As far as the rest of the transmission is concerned, it's pretty much all plastic. I can feel that these little diff units have got plastic gears inside. The housings are plastic. We've got a little bevel gear on the end of the drive shaft, that's plastic. Which is no bad thing, I suppose, but are you going to be able to upgrade it, and are you going to be able to repair it if something fails? Now, interestingly enough, if we take that out there, a Xinlehong Q901 brushless unit I think will fit. Now on the Q901, the bearings that support the diff housing are a little bit thicker than the Gantry ones, so I think to get these to fit properly, because they don't quite fit in the diff housing, but to get them to fit properly, I think you'd have to swap the bearings over. Now I've been racking my brain because this reduction gear looks very, very similar to one I've seen before. I think it's off a Xinlehong, is it 9135? Because this plastic reduction gear off a UG Toys, I know for a fact that they are virtually identical to a Xinlehong, and to me, and you probably can't tell on the video, but they're so similar, it's unbelievable. So I'm thinking, and also while we're here, also this is off a UG Toys as well, this diff unit. Now I know that the Xinlehong parts are interchangeable with the UG Toys buggy, UJ99 I think it is, and with the correct bearings again, I think you'd be able to interchange these diff units. So I'm pretty sure the good news is that if you do buy one, I'm pretty sure if they don't already, you could probably get the metal Q901 drivetrain pieces for this, and I think they'd probably fit. Okay, then the RC's back together, the battery's charged, I've put the stickers on. Quick word of warning about the stickers though. Be very, very careful when you're putting them on, because as soon as you touch them onto the bodywork, that's it, they stick instantly, and I've ended up with one on the scunt there, which is driving me up the wall. Now, before we take it out for a blast, I usually like to do a bit of research on what I'm testing. But for some reason, for this Gantry and the manufacturer, I can't find any information out there whatsoever. I tried Googling it, nothing. You get some strange website with the actual company name and the company logo, but the contents of the website is something about almost like car sales or car hire. Nothing pertaining to RC models whatsoever. So if there's anybody else out there with any information, do me a favour, stick it in the comments section and I'll go and check it out. Anyway, let's take it out for a spin. Right then, the first job is to test the top speed of this thing. The box says 38 kilometres an hour, which is about 23 miles an hour. Let's see what it actually does. I don't know if you can see there, but 17.3 miles an hour is our limit. It's a little bit shy of 23, isn't it really? Just for shits and giggles, I'm going to try it with a little lipo in it. Okay then, 18.8 miles an hour with a little lipo in. Getting closer, but still not quite the 23 miles an hour that it's basically stated on the box. Okay, then back inside. What do we think of the Suchiyu Gantry here? Let's go for the traditional good and bad points. Let's start with some bad points first. Suspension. The suspension on this thing is awful. It's too hard. There's no damping, and to be honest, off-road it just bounces around everywhere. It's not a very pleasant thing to pilot around. Now, the second thing I didn't like about this thing is the fact that it doesn't do its claimed top speed. And I'm going to start calling out manufacturers on this when I test stuff, now that I've got a speedo to test it with. Because to be honest, it does infuriate me, the fact that they can advertise one top speed, which is very often nowhere near what the thing will actually do. I mean, on the box it says 38 plus kilometres an hour. The maximum I got out of this was 30 kilometres an hour using a LiPo, not the lithium ion that the truck is sold with. So where they get 38 kilometres an hour from, God only knows. But anyway, it doesn't do its claimed top speed. And the third thing that annoyed me about this thing was the fact that they claim it to be the off-road version, the cross-country truck if you like, when in fact basically isn't. It's not very good off. In fact, it's terrible off-road. I mean, the suspension won't allow it to do much, and to be honest, there's not much ground clearance anyway, and the thing does tend to get hung up everywhere. So it's not really an off-road truck, but we'll come to that in a minute. Now, the next thing that was a little bit concerning, but not major, is the fact that there isn't really any metal in the transmission. It's all pretty much plastic. And then that wouldn't, I mean, on this price point, that's fairly normal. For like a 60 quid, 65 quid truck, you do get a lot of plastic in the transmission. But if you've got no spares backup, it does become more of an issue, I think. because these plastic drive shafts, I know for a fact that they are eventually going to snap. There's no, they all do, to be honest. So if you can't buy spares and you can't upgrade it, having a completely plastic transmission is a little bit of a worry. Right then, let's have some good points, and the first of which is the styling of the thing. I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job with this. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. The body shell looks mint. I love the lights. They're dead bright. I mean, they're that bright with this light bar on top. I think it'd be a viable little truck at night. But the styling and the looks are absolutely bang on. I mean, it's sufficiently different from everything else in this sort of bracket. I mean, the 1/16 bracket, it really does stand out. So looks wise, I think they've done a top job. Second good point is the fact that while I was out with it, nothing broke, nothing fell off. I did hit several things with it as usual, and it didn't do it any harm whatsoever. So as for the durability, only time will tell. But like I say, nothing broke, nothing fell off. Now there's another good point, and this is just a possibility, and it pertains to the possible lack of parts. The transmission on this thing does look very similar to a Xinlehong Q901, etc. So if it did turn out as you couldn't get parts for this thing, you did break something and you want to upgrade it, I think personally there is a distinct possibility that you'll be able to use Xinlehong parts in this, because a lot of the transmission gears, etc., to my eyes anyway, looked very, very similar. And despite this thing not doing its claimed top speed, I still found it to be quite quick and punchy, and it was reasonably agile when it got onto hard surfaces like concrete and tarmac, which, to be honest, I think is where it's going to excel. Off-road, it was rubbish, but it really does start to become very entertaining when you're on hard surface with it. Also, at the start of the video, I did sort of complain about this controller, saying that it felt a little bit cheap and nasty. Well, to be honest, it's actually grown on me, because it does fit quite nice in the hand when you're controlling it, and you can operate it quite easily with one hand thanks to this little nodger on the steering wheel. Right then, crunch time. Would I recommend the Gantry to anyone? Oh gosh, this is a difficult one. Although I don't think this is an inherently bad RC, the fact that there's there's a lack of information, and as far as I can tell, I mean, I might be wrong. If someone can prove me wrong, brilliant. But as far as I can tell at the moment, there is a lack of spares for these, and I would be really hard pushed to recommend anyone buy anything if they can't actually get the bits to repair it, because at some point you're going to break something. And the problem with the 1/16 scale marketplace, if you like, is there is an awful lot of really, really good little RCs out there. So I'm guessing the answer is no. I mean, would I buy one myself with my own money? The answer is no. I'd probably go and buy a HBX 16889 or a Xinlehong Q901 or something like that. I know they're possibly a little bit dearer, but you can get the bits for them. Like I say, there's nothing inherently wrong with the Gantry, and there are some redeeming features, and there's some parts of it I really, really like. But at this present moment in time, I'd go and buy something else. What I'd like to see is a couple of things, really. Some sort of spares backup, and do you know what? I'd love to see a brushless version of this. I'd love to see a hot version with metal in the transmission, some oil shocks, like I said, brushless motor, and I think the thing would be phenomenal. I really do. It'd be different again, but I think until that happens, I think you need to look elsewhere. As ever, a big thank you to Banggood for supplying the Gantry for today's video for review. If you want to go and purchase one, there will be a link in the description, along with hopefully a promo code so you can get a bit of money off. I mean, they're not mega expensive. I think they're about 66 quid, something like that. But every little helps anyway, and you get a little bit of extra money off. If you've enjoyed this video and you found it of some use and interest, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you're feeling that way inclined, hit that subscribe button for more similar future content. Once again, thank you for watching, guys, and I'll catch you again soon. Thank you.